I am Marwan Cameron, and this is the Conduit.
Yes,
All
it
right,
is.
y'all. It is Friday night. You see what's happening. It's the first when powers collide, as is in the description. That's what I'm talking about. Let's give it up on this side, too. You know? Sal, wake up. Bremerton
How you doing, sir?
or Bainbridge.
Wake up, Bainbridge.
Wake
Just
up,
wake up.
Bainbridge. Marwan, the Conduit. Woo, boy. It's on, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are
Till the
you
break of
doing?
dawn.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Meaning I feel good right now. There's a lot of stuff going on. I feel a lot of ways, but here we are. And here's what I can honestly say, that when we connected, meaning like when we just logged on a few minutes ago and started talking, I actually felt safe for like the first time in hours. I don't even know why, but I just got this feeling of safety.
Wow.
And it's because I think we just been vibing lately, and I feel like, like we're gonna do this thing, and it was just very interesting. Like as soon as you clicked on, it was, I'm gonna be straight up. It was like how I feel when I call my mom. It was just like, oh, like calling somebody that I feel safe around. I'm talking to somebody I feel safe around. And so there you go.
Hey, I appreciate that. I will take that very, very much.
Absolutely, I appreciate you. Yeah.
Well, I am blessed and highly favored, as I say, all the time, and I think that's important, and that helps me to keep perspective and also to share that perspective. So, when you teach, you tend to I get accused of saying I'm always in teacher mode, right? So I can't break out of it. So I just feel like it's just something that I can give to other folks, and if they're feeling some kind of way, that maybe that's a way for them to recalibrate. And it's like, you know what? I'm blessed and highly favored also. So I actually like that,
I like that. I've heard that phrase before. I like that.
Yeah, I probably stole that from Charlemagne the God.
I was gonna say that sounds like a Charlemagne the God quote. Yeah.
And what's important about that is I don't like that guy.
I don't either. That's very interesting. I have some real I would love to get him on the show, but at the same time, yeah. Like I have a lot of problems with Charlemagne the God. So it's a very interesting, it's like juxtaposed, but he does have some gems. He does, he reads things I read. He clearly just interprets it a little bit differently than us. So what are you gonna do?
And the point of me saying that I don't like him is the fact that I am, at least I would say, smart enough to recognize good things when I hear it, right? So I just don't say, you know what, I don't like this person. And
You're
so
not throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, nothing they say has any value. I'm beyond that in my life. I used to be there, and I think a lot of people are still there, and that's unfortunate because while you may not like them, what they say may actually be accurate or have some facts or like
could be very important to you. Yeah, regardless of whether you like what you're hearing, it's information.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'll give him a shout out for that. Blessed and highly favored, and now that's my phrase now. So
yeah, no, I feel the same way. I feel I talk to my dog a lot because that's the only living being around me. And so I wake up every morning and I say, hey, we got a day. And I really do. I think to myself, we got a day. Like we didn't have to wake up this morning, but we did, like whatever could have happened. A nuclear bomb could have happened. I could have had a heart, who knows? But like, like whenever I go to sleep, I don't know if I'm going to get to wake up that next day. And so I'm usually appreciative of the day that I have in front of me. Although I'll be honest, I get caught up in the day a lot of the time. I am born a human, and I suffer from the human condition every day of my life. And so I get caught up with all the stuff, but yeah, I'm happy to be here with you tonight. We're going to talk about some, I don't want to, again, I was talking earlier, I don't want to say hot topics, but they're the topics that people are talking about right now. We're going to talk something about national. We're going to talk about Julius Jones. We're going to talk about the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict that just got handed down today, the not guilty verdict. Everybody knows, so there's no spoiler alert. You probably shed your tears or jumped up and down in joy, whatever side you're on. And then we're going to talk about, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about the election of Tracy Flood for a minute, because I did that interview earlier today. And I'd love to share it across all the platforms. I thought it was a great interview, not only because I did it, but and because we're going to have it on all of our platforms, but because as I did research into this interview, I'll say this. this is the interview. I've never spent more time doing research for an interview.
Okay.
And I'm proud of myself for that. And so I want to kind of give myself a pat on the back. The other thing I think is that this human being absolutely warranted and deserved it. And the more I did research into Tracy Flood, the more I found that I actually had a fondness for her. And not that I didn't before, but like you start to have it for real reasons. You start to connect to people when you do research on them. And yeah, and it was a great interview. She was very candid about, what she thinks and how she feels. And so, we'll talk a little bit about that because that affects us here locally in Bremerton. So
When I tell you, I feel honored because I think I'm the first person who watched the video. So
you're the only person who's watched it so far, not even her or me yet. I haven't watched it back yet. I was just in it.
Yeah, so I got to watch the entire video. I thought there were some really great. Yep. I got some great insight. Your questions were fantastic, by the way. You actually asked for some feedback, and we just didn't have time for me to give it to you beforehand. I thought your questions were really good, especially, and we'll wait until we go into it. But the questions centered around the Kitsap son and
real recognize real. No, for real. And that's what I hope that this show is about. I hope that we're able to. Here's the thing, and I'm just going to be very honest. I get in trouble with the people around me, the people I live on Bainbridge, because they really like that I'll do all the due diligence and find out the dirt and report on. I don't report people's dirt. Like I don't need to report that. But sometimes there's people in positions of authority that don't do awesome things, and it needs to be told, right? Like we need to know about these things. But sometimes the people who loved me 2 days ago hate me because now I'm reporting on the people that they like or that they support or that. So all I'm going to say is this. What I hope is that we are able to convey information. What I want, I'll tell people when I think this is my opinion as compared to when this is a fact or what somebody else said. But all I hope for this show is that we're able to convey information to people, that they get to have some input. Hopefully we have people who are watching the show on our show, right? That would be cool. I mean, I love that. I love when I want people to understand why I say what I say and think what I think. And everybody should be objective. Nobody should take what they hear from you or me, in my opinion, and think that it's the gospel, because it's not. It's our gospel today in that moment. I may change my opinion tomorrow, and if I do, I'll tell you.
I was just getting ready to say that, right? I mean, I could feel some kind of way today, and I may evolve. I may, get new information and modify my thought on there. This is how I feel right now today. And I could be feeling that way because of certain emotions that are flooding through me at the time, right? And so maybe
No, seriously, it's like, and I'll say this, I'm going to cut you off, but it's like
Hey, go
the
ahead.
older I get, it's the more I change, the better I think I am.
Mhm.
The more I can detach from a thought I had and evolve and move along. If I'm still thinking the same way I was thinking 3 years ago, I don't know. I'm not that same person. The world's not the same place, so my thinking should evolve, hopefully. Anyway,
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Yeah, I'm excited,
let's jump into this first one. What do you got for us? Don't you have something queued up?
oh man, I got it queued up. Let's jump.
Yeah. This is why this show's gonna be dope, because we're literally combining. There's two people who know how to do some things here, Marwan and me. We're not experts or this or that in any, but we know how to do some things, and we're gonna like try to produce a show for you to make it fun for you, to make it fun for us. So
And hopefully educational also.
yes,
You might
sir.
learn something, either about the topic or learn something about yourself. So
Mhm.
I do want to say fair use. This first clip is coming from Vice. So I know folks have
We
some.
always want to give props to the people who do the thing. Like we're not trying to steal nothing. We're trying to share information.
Yep, absolutely. And your participation is always welcome. So you could type your comments in the chat at some point in time. We won't do it tonight, but we'll probably take phone calls and things like that. We'll see what happens as this thing evolves. But do type in the chat.
If you're watching, type something in the chat. We'll make sure to shout you out and make sure to talk about what you talked about, so long as it's mildly appropriate.
For sure.
Yeah,
So this is from Vice, and this is going to kind of cue up just some details of what happened in this particular situation, because I think a lot of people don't know, right? So it's important to have context.
Jones was just 19 years old when he was arrested for the murder of Paul Howell. a white insurance agent who was shot to death during a carjacking. Another suspect accused Jones of being the shooter, except Jones didn't match the description given by the only witness to the crime, who said the shooter had half an inch of hair sticking out from underneath a hat. Photos of Jones from days before the murder show his head was shaved at the time. In fact, the suspect who testified against Jones did fit the given description. The co-suspect was also convicted of murdering Howell, but was given a 30-year sentence in exchange for his testimony. He was released after serving just 15 years. The man's cellmates later came forward claiming he'd boasted about setting up Jones while awaiting.
I just wanted to pause there because I think this is a double-edged sword when you have someone plea out and testify against someone else to get a deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, do I think that some people who plea out are telling the truth when they do that? Absolutely. I think there are cases where people are absolutely telling the truth against their co-defendant or whoever that they're ratting on or telling the truth about, however you want to put that. I also think like we may have here, I'll just say like we may have here, that people that when cops get you, and I'm saying watch every TV show on any channel, when the cops get you, it's a game of who can we get to tell who did it first. And so you are incentivized to just tell a story. It's not necessarily the truth. It's the one that's going to get you out of trouble the most. So it's not about what really happened. It's not about I have integrity and I'm going to take my lumps like a man. Sorry. I know a few rappers say that, but there's a bunch that don't. It's about how can I get out of trouble because I don't want to go to jail for the rest of my life. And the way this man did it is he pleaded to a 30-year sentence, which means he actually may get to see the light of day if he lives through the prison system, where this other man got put on death row, which you're clearly about to hear. Sorry.
And just to add to that, it is okay for the cops to say anything to you to get you to talk. I mean, they can
lie to you.
Yeah, they can lie to you.
Literally lie to your face. They can say your co-defendant flipped on you, and it's a lie. And that's very interesting stuff. I talked to somebody the other day, like a full-grown human being who I respect. They had no idea that police officers could do that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yet they've been doing it to people for a long time.
And they say, hey, make it easier on yourself. If you cooperate with us now, then it's going to go better for you in court, right? And that's not true. They're going to throw the book at you. They're going to overcharge you. There's a reason why you get your Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to counsel. You need to be silent and wait for your counsel, right?
The only thing you should ever do when talking to the cops is shut up. And ask for the only thing you should ever say to a police officer is, am I under arrest? And if they say yes, you say, I would like my attorney. Have a good day. Do not say they're going to do whatever they do to you anyway, in my humble opinion. In my humble opinion. Yeah. But you know what I would love to do, just because we're kind of talking about this for a moment, I would love to get somebody like Tracy Flood on here because I think she'd give us an honest opinion. And I would love to ask her because she's been an attorney. She's been, she's done a lot of things besides be a judge. And so I would love to ask her if we just said, if any brown man, if any black man got pulled over, any person got pulled over, and the cops started asking you questions, what should you do? What would be the advice of a person who's about to sit as a judge and judge these people who are going to come in front of them? I don't know what she'd say. I think it'd be very interesting to ask and find out, though.
Yeah, absolutely. But
I think we can get police chiefs on here to, I would love for our society and the people we have in it that manage it, like police officers and judges, to be honest. Look, the thing might happen anyway, so at least be honest about, what's my best course of action here? You're not giving me legal advice, but it's like, what would you tell your child? That's what I'll ask them. What would you tell your child?
Well, and the question is, Sal, does art imitate life or does life imitate art?
Depends on how much money you got.
Well, here's the thing. We watch TV, we watch movies all the time, right? And we see, law enforcement bully, poor folks, minorities. You see that all the time, right? But at the same time, when you see high-powered and wealthy folks, right, it's like, talk to my attorney. Talk to my attorney.
You don't ever see them talking to the police for an ultimate feast. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. They don't do it for the burger and the Coke. They don't. They say this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what we should do one day? This would be the greatest thing in the world. Is you ever see the Lil Wayne deposition?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. I'm gonna email that. You just Google it. We'll find it. And what we should do is watch it online because it's public information. So we could get, and the way that he answers these questions, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Anyway, moving right along.
Yeah, let's jump back in there.
Sentencing. After a 12-day trial, Jones, an engineering freshman at the University of Oklahoma on a full ride, was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. He's been incarcerated.
Again, right? Good student, never been convicted of a crime, didn't have hair, you know, just a whole lot of signs right off the bat. It's just what I saw.
Rated since 1999 and has been held in solitary confinement for the last 12 years.
Oh, I'm glad that I did take these pictures because it gives me hope, but it's just a good feeling to be able to look back. And when he comes home, we can maybe go from where we left off.
I'm humbled enough to realize that my brother could have been executed. And for all of those that have been executed and were innocent, that gives me strength. And I'm humbled enough to realize that over the course of 20 years, our prayers have not been for nothing.
In Oklahoma, there's a lot of things I didn't see until they happened to me. I question the system now.
In 2017, the bipartisan Oklahoma Death Penalty Review Commission found that it was, quote, undeniable that innocent people have been sentenced to death in Oklahoma. The state is notorious for aggressively seeking the death penalty, a practice that was...
I'm just going to pause there just because we're kind of getting outside of the scope.
Yep.
So
let's talk a little bit about what happened. So this man got convicted of murder, got sentenced to the death penalty. His sentence was due to be carried out this week.
Yeah.
I think it was today, the 18th. So he had today was going to be the day he got executed because yesterday at dark 30 they finally said we're going to commute your sentence. So then the parole board or the clemency commission, whatever it was, told the governor, we recommend that you commute his sentence with the possibility of parole. What that does is give him a chance, just like the man who said, yes, I did it too. He got a chance too, right? And so what this would do is this would reverse his death penalty. So he wouldn't be on death row anymore. And then he'd have the possibility of parole. Well, the governor decided with 4 hours to go, meaning 4 hours to go before this man, everybody in his family, everybody who loved him, everybody who supported him, thought that he was literally about to be put to death. The governor said, we'll commute his sentence with life in prison, no possibility of parole. So he didn't even take the recommendation of the board that his state has put together to do this thing. This is not what this man does for a living, right? You're supposed to take the recommendations of the experts that you have. That's what you do. And as the CEO of his company, that state, they decided to keep this man in jail forever. The good news is that he didn't die today.
Right.
If you want to look on the optimistic side, he might be out of jail someday. There may be a day to reverse that sentence. That could happen. But he doesn't die, right? And so that's the good thing. Here's the other thing: is we don't know if he's guilty or innocent. That's the truth. Like none of us here can sit here and say we necessarily know that, right? But what we didn't do is kill another human being. That's what we didn't do, based on evidence that is sketchy at the very least. Prosecutors who have had their cases overturned, right? It's like, come on now. Come on. And that's why they commuted his sentence, is because the people who were involved in this case, we have now found out over the course of history that they conducted themselves extremely poorly. They lied about things. They falsified information. And what we don't know is that if Julius Jones's case is one of them. So let's not kill him before we find that out. And that's literally what we just saw happen. That's all. Right. So what are you thinking? What are you feeling? You saw how I felt about the other thing today. What do you feel?
Well, let me play one more clip,
Mhm.
and then I'll give you my thoughts on the other
Mhm.
side, because this is part of the actual case and what happened. So I think
Mhm.
this is important for context. So this is MSNBC, R.A. Melber, who loves hip hop, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
I was a juror on the case. This thing has weighed on me for a long time. This was well before deliberations. And one of the jurors said, well, they should just take this out back, shoot him and bury him under the jail. It didn't matter what happened. This was a black man that was on trial for murder. He did it. It didn't sit right with me, and I went to the judge with that the next day.
So full stop, pause, right? If we look at the Rittenhour case and everything that took place there, and we're going to get to that conversation in a little bit. Is this a fair trial? In the news from Rittenhour, there were all kinds of different reasons, and even with Aubrey, right, on why the defense was trying to throw out the case, and I mean, they were working hard, to do what they were doing.
Because Jesse Jackson was sitting there.
Right.
Let's throw out the case.
The black pastors, right?
Clearly, that invalidates the white dude shooting the black dude while he's jogging. But hey, what are you gonna do?
Right. You can't call the people that were killed victims, right? They were a victim of a gunshot wound that killed them. They are victims.
They were only allowed to be referred to as rioters, protesters, and then their names, I think.
Right. So you have a jury that's like, you know what? It's a black man. Take him out in the back, kill him. How is that a fair trial? The juror reported it the next day. That didn't even get a hung jury. So that's something that kind of hit my mind. Is I thought it would only take one juror to make it a hung jury. So did at some point in time, like, do they come back with their sentence and then the judge just says you're guilty? Or if it's not unanimous, is it a hung jury and they have to retry the case? That
If
I don't.
if one jury member doesn't agree, it's a hung jury.
It's a hung jury.
Correct.
Oh.
And so what happened is that she told the judge said, keep your mouth shut. She rolled over. And that's why she's felt bad for the last 40 years. Literally, that's why you hear her saying, this has not sat well with me, because you didn't take it to the mat. That's why, honey.
Right. The woman who caused Emmett Till to be murdered and then came clean about it at the end. Right. This is what that looks like. Right. Justice denied. And so this young man's life was destroyed. And you were sitting here the day before waiting execution. And it took Kim Kardashian and a lot of powerful people. Kim Kardashian at the height of her fame and power. And everyone else, all these other athletes and everyone else, just to get it just right before.
They were organizing. They were organizing there all day yesterday. All for the last week. Everybody who's important, who does this work, has been flying down there doing and it was the public pressure that got that governor to say, uncle.
Yeah. And that episode of Vice was from 11 months ago. So it's making the mainstream news now because he was just getting ready. The execution was coming up. So you started hearing about it 3 weeks beforehand. But folks have been fighting this for years. And so I want people to understand is that you must fight. You must fight. Even when it seems like it's insurmountable. If any of those people gave up at all, they believed he was innocent. He believed he was innocent. He never said he was guilty. He never took a plea. The family said he was home playing board games and eating spaghetti on the night of the murder.
Mm-hmm.
And they fought and they fought and they fought. And luckily, by the grace of God, they found themselves here.
Mm-hmm.
And he still has life in prison. So, these are the things of injustice that we talk about when justice is, let's say, blind in all the wrong ways when it comes to black and brown people. But when it comes to, the dominant society, when it comes to white people, all of a sudden, all these concessions are made and, we can't do this or we can't do that or whatever the case may be. And the fallback oftentimes is, well, we're just following the law. I hear that so much, right? And somehow it's like, well, we're following the law. There's nothing we can do. Our hands are tied. And it's like, well, we could have kept following the law. We'd still be in slavery, right?
Hey, good thing Tracy Flood just got elected. Hey, you know what? Here's why. I'll take her version of the law over some person that don't look like me's version of the law. So,
well, I will parse that just because I've seen some pretty horrific black judges do some really
100%. Yeah. But to me, here's what I'll say about that. The likelihood that they understand the world I do is much higher than the other way around. The likelihood that I get treated with respect and dignity is much higher than the other way around.
Agreed.
This is, I mean, I go through my life and like, let's just state the obvious. I'm a few shades lighter than you. Right. So, but I certainly like go through my life and it's like degrees. It's just degrees of it. And so the people who don't understand never will. Unless they care to listen and try to connect and do some work. And then there's, the people who have to understand that on a daily basis at varying degrees.
Right.
So, and that's why I say that the likelihood that a Tracy Flood would, I don't know, it's not showing me any benefit or privilege or anything like that. It's treating me like a human being. The likelihood that she will treat me like a full human being is higher than if I sat in front of a white judge. I'm just going to say that. I'm sorry if anybody got offended. I'm not.
Facts is fact, right? And the thing is I think a lot of folks feel the way that you do, but cancel culture has been around far longer than it's been popularized right now. Cancel culture has worked to destroy and demonize us from, I mean, let's go back to LA. The LA riots, right? Rodney King, the videotape, and they still got acquitted. And we had been saying for decades, right? We are experiencing police brutality. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. And then we get it on footage. It takes another, because that was what, maybe 1991.
It didn't even take getting it on footage because they let them cops go.
Right. 30 years later, you've got George Floyd, right, in the middle of the day, murdering.
Getting murdered. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we're still here. And now we look, and just a year later, we have two cases that show just the opposite of justice. And even to that end, the contrast, because I do feel, I think your point on percentages is right? Like there is a higher percentage that if that person looks like you, it's going to be more fairly judged, right? I think sometimes there is a case, and you see this with black cops sometimes, where they got to show out for the white cop, right? And so they got to show that they're going to be big and bad, right? I'll be Billy Badass. Let me show you. I can be just as brutal or more brutal to my own folks, right? And so you see that sometimes with prosecutors and judges also. So, I want to be fair there.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm a little critical, when
no, but here's why I'll give Tracy Flood a lot of leeway, because every time I go and do equity work in this community, she's there. Most of the groups I'm in, most of the committees, most of the whatever, Kitsap Equity Collaborative, this, that, NAA, she's a part of it. She's been doing the work already. Like, I'm just getting there. And so that's what makes me feel a little bit better about that. And I really mean that when I say it. I've never seen her be a judge, so I can't qualify that. I can't tell you this has been my experience and this is what she did. I don't know. What I can tell you is that she, unless she's like just shows up to things she doesn't agree with, she probably views the world similarly that I do. And I think that she understands, like the interview says, that I don't want to give it all away. She states that she understands the position of power she's in, and not in power in an egotistical way, but that she's the only municipal court judge in the city of Bremerton. It's her. She's a full-time judge. And so what she's going to do is listen through her listening, right? As compared to the judge that was there before her, who listened through his listening. That was his world experience and his worldview and his this and his that. I'm happy that somebody with Tracy's experience now gets to be that person who gets to kind of be the overviewer of, that kind of activity, criminal activity or whatever would come across her bench. So that's it.
You know what I like about what you said? Sorry to cut you off there.
No, please.
Is in your reflection, you're talking about the fact that, okay, Marwan, fair enough, right? There are some Black people in power that have hurt their own communities or have been over litigious in the way that they've conducted themselves. But in this regard, she has a track record that I have seen. I've been in space with her, and so she has shown a consistency over time. And so for that, I can respect, right? And so we don't know the past history of what these folks have done. I mean, you hear this story, and then you can go back, and usually you'll see a pattern of this happening over time, right?
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
Tracy has not shown that pattern over time. She's shown that consistency in doing the work. And do check out the interview because it's a powerful one. It's so funny because I can't even give you all the accolades on all the things that you've done, right? I've interviewed her on the Conduit. I think I was reading for like 2 minutes. It was like, okay.
Oh no, it's all right. Well, and then let me tell you the other thing too, is as I was putting this together, one of the things I realized is, I'm just gonna be very honest. So I consider myself a brown person, and I was interviewing a brown person, and I'm there to be objective. I'm certainly there to be objective, right? But at the same time, if somebody's done something and it's amazing and awesome, I want to give them their flowers while they're here. I'm so tired of seeing posts of "I loved this person, they did this and that," of them after they die. I literally want to punch those people in the face. That's like the thoughts and prayers people to me. And so I want to punch those people. I'm not a violent person, but if I want to punch anybody, it's those two groups of people. And the reason is this: say this to these people while they're here. Tell Tracy Flood, and again, the only reason I did it is because as I did my due diligence, as I researched for the interview, I started to see what this lady had done. And there was no way I could not, it was just like, whoa, like that. Okay. And I'm gonna be straight up again. That doesn't mean she's gonna be a great Bremerton Municipal Court judge either. We're about to find that out. But what I will do is acknowledge her for what she's done already, because it's absolutely amazing. Especially if we talk about if we start to exponentially add the the negative multipliers in this world of how brown or Black people are treated, or how women are treated in the legal profession, or anything like that, or the Kitsap Sun article that came out, the October surprise, or let's just name all these things, right? It wasn't like she had a straight path and just had to work real hard and then she'd achieve her goal. She had a straight path, and everybody who could tried to kick her off it along the way. And you know what she did? She worked hard. She did the best she could do. She stayed on track. And I'm sorry, but until she does something that qualifies me having a different opinion of her, this is the one I have of her. So, so, and again, I'm not, yeah. I'm not trying to sell Tracy Flood. I'm really not. What I believe is if you do the research, it'll sell itself. Because that's what happened to me. I am one of the more skeptical people I know. I call myself a realist, but certainly a little skeptical. And you've heard me be skeptical.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I don't mind. I don't mind telling the truth when I find it out.
I think our issue is we cannot really honor someone until they're gone, and then we mythologize about them, we romanticize about their achievements, and the fish was this big, and we just cannot look at someone who's here in front of us and say, you know what, you are doing great and profound things, and therefore we need to acknowledge that now, right? And that's leadership, but we look at leadership in greatness, and we almost have two different definitions of it. When you're alive and you're a leader and you're great, and when you've passed on and you're a leader and you're great, right? It means so much more on the other side. But when you're here now, we might give you a plaque, we may give you an award, but the work and the sacrifice and the change that you've made in the community is never really articulated to the full capacity of what that person has done. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you saw the interview, and in the beginning I kind of introduced her and I say a few of the things she had done. I will tell you right now, if you go into that Google Doc that and you go into the edits, it was double the length.
Wow.
And I kept having to shorten it just so it would sound good when I said it, because I was like, it was like, over and over, like, she did this, which she did, and it was like choosing which ones to, it was like, which one should I choose? Anyway, enough about Tracy Flood. We will post the interview here, wherever we post it. It'll be all over.
Yeah, we're still on the national part. We done went down to the local real quick.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump back into this case, because I do want to show the other side and show the victim's family also and what they had to say, because there's commentary that I like to provide on that side too. So it's one of the things we can complain about media, but when you become the media, then you need to either one. My thing is always showing the position that isn't the dominant position, right? Giving an opinion or facts that are not the prevailing fact that they want you to be exposed to. And that's on both sides, right? Whatever, there's like there's her side, his side, and then the truth, right? So I kind of want to be more like the truth, but we could be a pentagram or something else, right? There's so many different sides to.
There's a lot of different sides of the truth, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. So do that, and then when you come back, I'll go ahead and I'll play the video. So one of the things that happened today, which is pretty awesome. We were gonna have Cody Russell on earlier, and we needed to reschedule that. And so I was able to kind of share with everyone what it is I do when I have a conversation with an agency or an organization. And typically, when I do that, if I'm presenting today, I was presenting to the Reentry Task Force. So shout out to them and all the work that they're doing and trying to come together. And again, for those of you that didn't see that, the Reentry Task Force is made up of, it's an amalgamation of, police officers and probation officers and service providers that are all trying to do their work differently, right? So there could be different outcomes to reduce recidivism, to help folks that are to reintegrate into society once they get out of jail or prison. And so for folks to come alongside and say, hey, you know what, let's do something different. There's nothing that's telling us that we have to keep walking down this road. If we know this road isn't working, stop, think for a little bit, and make another plan and go down another road. Now, again, you may have gone down this road for a few miles. You may have gone down this road for a few months or a few years. So it's going to take a minute to backtrack, but we can stop. We don't have to keep going because a lot of times we do that in life, right? Well, when we're kids, I'm staying out. Pop's mom said, be home before the lights come on. Well, the lights done came on. It's like, I'm out anyway. I'm gonna get in trouble. So I might as well just stay out now. But you make it worse. It actually does get worse, right? And so we justify that in our mind, and then we don't do anything. So yes, we've been making we've been going down the wrong road for a very long time. But it is okay to stop and say, you know what? This is wrong. I'm gonna fix it. We're gonna work on it. We're going to think about it, and we're going to backtrack. And as we backtrack, it's not going to immediately fix everything. It's going to take some time, but we are working on it. And as long as everyone is saying, hey, I'm willing to turn back around and continue to walk, and everyone may not, right? Some people may continue on forward, right? You see it in horror movies like, hey, should we split up and go over here? It's like, no, we shouldn't split up. It's like, no, let's stick together. Let's just take it room by room. But there's always that person that goes off on their own, right? But the rest of the folks, you're stronger together. Go ahead, make the other decision, turn around and figure it out, right? And I think when we do that, that's the only way that we're going to be able to change. So be bold and turn around. You really can. All right, so let me go ahead and play this other side of that video. Like I said, I just wanted to give, balance on this conversation, and then just talk about it on the other side here.
Man, fun, silly, goofy, your typical just fun dad. He has 2 daughters.
Rachel Howell telling me about her dad, Paul.
He'd always go to all my soccer games and basketball games.
Paul Howell was murdered in 1999 in his car outside his parents' Edmond home. Rachel says she watched the whole thing as a little girl.
The door was already cracked open. I watched him walk up. He had a red bandana over his face, a white shirt, and with a silver gun like up against his leg here as he was walking up, and then opened the door and shot my dad in the head. That's the main image that I remember, is my dad's head falling.
Rachel says, and the courts agreed, Julius Jones was the killer.
I remember running up the driveway with my aunt and my sister, and he shot again at us and luckily missed, but he said stop and shot at us.
Found the defendant Julius Darius Jones guilty of murder in the first degree, fixed his punishment at death.
Julius Jones was sentenced to death for Paul Howell's murder.
He 100% did this. He murdered my father.
Truth is, I didn't shoot that man. No, I didn't kill Mr. Paul Howell.
Jones has always maintained his innocence, saying he wasn't even there when it happened.
I was not involved in the planning of this robbery. I was not present during this robbery. And I did not know that anyone had been killed until the day after Mr. Howell's murder.
After documentaries and a Justice for Julius campaign,
It's like David versus Goliath.
countless big names, celebrities, athletes have worked to save his life.
What I would like to ask for them is, if you're ever going to advocate for something like this, a capital murder case, look at both sides.
6.5 million people from all across the world signing a petition asking for his life to be spared.
We're hoping that the governor will, have the courage to do what's right here. And what's right is not executing people and saying, there's too much doubt in the Julius Jones case.
The process is meet with the defense attorneys.
I just wanted to play, the daughter side of it. Of course, that is very horrific. No one should lose their father in that way. Well, what are your thoughts on it? Because I've seen this video, so I kind of wanted to get your response, and then I'll give you mine.
My thoughts are this: I think that woman's trauma is real, right? So I will start with that. I think that woman, if what she says is to be believed, even at the smallest level, she watched her father's head get blown off. How do you ever recover from that? Just hard stop, right? Just pause. But if we're to move on from that, what I will say is, I don't know that the word of a child in the midst of the most traumatic situation they've ever been in their entire life, in the atmosphere that we lived in 30 years ago, how do we judge the I don't know, the quality of it, or how much can we believe it? Again, I don't want to take anything away from her. What I believe is that somebody, but I believe just as equally as she should be believed, so should the man who got convicted. If he says I didn't do it and she says I did, there we go. We're 1-to-1. So now where's the evidence, right? Like literally, well, let's see the evidence. And that's what we have this problem with, right? Because there wasn't a ton of evidence. We don't know if some of the evidence might have been doctored or this or that. Like, we just don't know. And that's the mystery behind this case. That's why this man is not dead right now, is because somewhere, somehow, in my humble opinion, that governor knew if he did that, if there's a hell, it will find him. I hope that man believed in God, and I hope that's what God, whatever it is, it don't matter to me. But I have a hard time thinking that the governor of Oklahoma, right? This is what we're talking about, Oklahoma, right?
Right.
But the governor of Oklahoma succumbed to the public pressure of the liberal, I'm using air quotes here, folks, liberal media, right? Because all media is liberal if you're to believe that. Seriously, it's just, it all is, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying that for real, but that's what the word out there is.
Yeah.
And so I really don't think that the governor of Oklahoma would be swayed by that. I don't. Maybe like a little bit, but I think he's much more swayed by, maybe there's a thing here. And maybe if there's a thing here and I do this, the pearly gates don't find me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, here's the deal. There was also an adult witness, right? That contradicted that, right? Bald versus, having the long hair and this and that, right? And so, yes, the witness of a child versus an adult, you've got to take that into consideration. There's a whole bunch of factors, but you have two conflicting stories right there. So you're right. There's his word. There's the child's word, the daughter at the time. There's the other adult's word. There's all the evidence and everything else that we've seen that's happened in this case. Now,
and the biggest fact, he's black, they're white.
Mm-hmm. Right.
in Oklahoma 30 years ago.
What
Like,
do you mean?
just
Does it need to be 30 years ago?
no, but I think that at 30 years ago there weren't like cell phone camera. Like, to me, the only thing that means is like there were less ways to find justice. That's all.
Oh, yeah, facts.
Not that there's not more ways to violate people's rights now, because there are, but there are also like there's more ways to find justice, I think, for Black, brown, whoever people, just people who are being violated in the criminal justice system. So it's probably a little bit harder.
Right, absolutely. So now let me preface my thoughts with the statement. And the statement is one, this is, my thoughts and opinions, not my organization or anyone else. This is how I feel right now. This morning you were very emotional with the outcome in the Rittenhour case, and that drove you to tears, right? And hurt and pain.
Sure did.
And there's a lot of different ways to express emotion. My emotion is more anger, right? I believe that we are in the age of Malcolm and not Martin, right? Martin was becoming more Malcolm at the end, but that's a whole nother story for another.
And Malcolm was becoming more Martin at the end. Go figure.
Touche.
I actually like to say that I'm a cross between Malcolm and Martin. That's now God's honest truth. Anyway, carry on. I like that. See, this is why we're doing this.
So, I feel like I'm more early Malcolm, coming into that now, right? And what I see is, because I've done the Martin thing, right? I've done the Martin thing. The Martin thing isn't moving the needle fast enough. It's the age of Malcolm, right? People, being disingenuous on what CRT is and everything else. I'm done with that BS. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm joking. I'm like, don't let all the secrets out now. Come on.
I'm already like, we were talking about whether or not we were going to curse on the show. And it's like, well, I don't typically curse. And I was already starting to move myself there. So I'm just going to back myself down a little bit. Like, I'm getting ramped up and I haven't even told you my thought yet.
Oh, here we go. All right.
Hey,
Nice and
Friday
easy.
night. I'll start to loosen the tie if I need to.
Yeah, just listen. Just try to roll that ball right down the middle. 7-10 split.
So the thing is every single time that you watch Black folks in the news, we are told that we need to forgive, right? Or we forgive. The reporters will ask us, well, do you forgive this? Do you forgive that? Right? And we forgive. If you listen to the rest of the Vice article and some of the other ones,
we'll post it in the links.
Yeah. What Julius was saying was, look, if I die tomorrow, don't be angry. Move on with your life and find forgiveness, right?
But keep fighting this fight too.
Even still, right? He's saying, forgive and move on. And here, she doesn't need to do that, right? She wants justice. And it's like, okay, so how much more justice do you want? He's already done all this time. You believe that he is guilty of this from a child, although all this evidence is here, right? And if you're looking at the preponderance of the law and the fairness of the judicial system, right? Then he didn't get a fair trial because a jury member was saying, hey, you know what? Let's just take this N-word out in the back and kill him right now. You report it, and then the next day she's coerced to go along with it, and now he's on death row, right?
Now let me ask you this though. Do you think that she understands the nuances of that?
I honestly, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? That I have no empathy or sympathy there. And the reason is it's been how many years? 12, 19? It was 99. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That's a long time, right? So how long do you sit with that? When we're told when the murder is fresh or the death is fresh, right? Whoever you believe did it, even when there's video evidence, like with George Floyd, you must forgive immediately right now. She's had 2 decades to understand the nuance and think about it and say, you know what? Well, I still believe with the evidence that maybe he killed my father, or maybe there could be some doubt that it was someone else. And I want justice. Is not life in prison justice? And if we understand, Oklahoma suspended their death row because they were they were killing people in really heinous ways, right?
Well, or was that the state that had the accident
Yeah.
last? Yeah. Well, yeah. Ooh, that was not a good look last week or last month, whenever that was.
Well, there was a 5-year moratorium on, killing people, right? In that state.
Except for Julius.
Well, no, it expired now. So now they've gone back to killing people again, right? So again, it's life in prison. So when we look at Botham John and a black female judge there, coming down off the bench and hugging the police officer and giving her Bible, right? That forgiveness that we are forced to give, right?
This is like a documented thing that happens, and I don't want to get too deep in it, but I really mean this when I say this. I've been in anti-racism trainings, like things, like real things. And what happens is that black people are taught to coddle white people no matter what. And black people are taught to tough it out. Like, be tough, deal with it, figure it out, be strong. And you tell me to shut up when I'm wrong, or when I'm, I'm talking out of pocket. And I really mean this. I love you, you love me, I think, and I respect you, and I never want to do that. But at the same time, I've seen the experience of other people. I've had them relay it back to me, and I've had a little bit of it myself, right? So but what I find mostly is when I saw that, and here's the other thing: the brother of that gentleman who got shot by that cop came down off the bench, hugged the cop. And here's what I will say about that. What I believe is that man wanted to find forgiveness, because I believe he didn't want it to haunt him for the rest of his life. That's and so what I will say about that is this: I think that there's lots of reasons people find forgiveness. Some of them are because they don't want to carry that, right? Like, if I'm mad at somebody for my whole life, I got a couple of those people, right? I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
man, that rents space in my head. That literally, when at night, when I'm trying to go to bed, or when I wake up and I can't, those are those things, those are those demons that enter my brain. And so part of it, I think, was that. The other thing, I think he was a religious person, and I think he did believe in those things. And I don't mind when I see people who I truly think are believers exercise that belief. The other stuff is taught, and I'm not saying that some of his behavior ain't taught either. But I do, just sort of, we try to find both sides of it. I think there was some genuineness in that. I also think that it's one of the most learned behaviors in American history for black people to have to feel bad for white people. It is, it's the most taught thing in America. Slave owners, slaves, hard stop. Like, seriously, it doesn't matter what matters is what side you're on. And if you didn't show that person sympathy, no matter what, guess what was going to happen to you? I'm sorry. And again, if I'm talking out of turn, you just tell me to shut up. But at the same time, it's like, I just really want people to understand the real dynamics that cause the things that we see in front of us to happen every day, because there's nothing new. There's no new technology or nuance or nothing. It's all the same old stuff. And the quicker we get it out in front of everybody and show them the truth, like the Kyle Rittenhouse. You know what? As bad as that outcome may have been, guess what we got to see? The truth.
Yeah, well, that's true.
We got to see the truth as it is today in 2021 in Kenosha, Wisconsin. That's what we got to see. And you know what? I like my racism overt, and I say that all the time. I want to wear a T-shirt. I like it. Call me what you want to call me the moment you see it, because at least I know now. And to me, that actually makes me feel safer. What I don't like is a bunch of people telling me they love me when they don't.
Oh man.
When they're going to exploit me, or they're going to do this, or going to, exercise their racism in some not racist way.
Are you my brother from another mother? Because I hate people to tell me that they love me, and I hate people to tell me that they're sorry if neither one of those things are true.
I'm not sorry yet, but I do love you.
Stop the cap.
No cap. No cap for real.
So here's the deal. And here's where the cap comes in, right? Okay, you're religious, you're spiritual, you want to forgive someone that killed a family member, someone you love, someone you care about. Okay, then forgive them. But when you tell me that you don't have that same energy for, that black or brown person that wronged you, right, in your church or in your neighborhood or in your family, stop the cap, right?
I hear you.
They didn't kill you.
I hear you.
right? Oh, I forgive. Hey, when is the bag coming?
But they don't have any reason to want to believe any different. They're not on the other side of it. And so that's why trust me, I'm with you all the way. But
we see it all the time, right? I'm not going to frequent your business. I'm not going to support you. I'm going to talk bad about you. I'm going to talk behind your back. But now you forgive the person that's killed your family member, your loved one? Are you serious right now? Like, how do you even justify that? But we do, right? And that may be the post-traumatic, slave syndrome. That may be some self-hate. There may be some mental health issues. But it is, people will say all the time, I can't believe this is still happening in 2021. Yeah, you're damn right. I can't believe that Black folks are still acting like this in 2021. I forgive everyone else that does these atrocities against me and all these injustices, but we don't forgive each other. We can't.
I was going to say, except the people that look like us. I was just going to say, except the people that look like us. We don't forgive them, not for a minute. No, and hey, you know what? I'm guilty too, and I really mean that. I'm the first. If we're gonna report on things and be honest, I just know that I'm always gonna tell people what my truth is too, and so I'm guilty too, and I'm learning and I'm all that, but yeah, that's what I believe is that I just think that, like, regardless of God, I want to curse right now just to say a phrase that I used to hear.
Say it.
But I'll just say this. I'll say it. I don't care. Nobody gives a fuck how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And you could bleep it or whatever we want to do, but there are some people who care how you feel, and there are, right? Like, I care how you feel, Marwan. But here's my thing: like, I can't be there for you 24/7, right? And so at the end of the day, you got to care how you feel, and you got to represent that. But yeah, it's like, it's a dog eat dog world out there.
And I actually feel like that's damaging too. And I know,
clergy. Got me to curse first. Damn you.
I did say I was getting close. Let's see, I just kind of prompted you there. I was getting you.
He said, no, go ahead. Go do it. It's okay, Sal.
That's right. It's the devil on the shoulder. It's all right. Do it. You know you want to do it, right? You didn't want to do it. I was almost there earlier. But we when clergy are saying, and you were saying it too, right? You don't want to hold that in. You don't want to have those demons and whatnot. And I will say, what my statement is being hypocritical. I probably should
go and get the cane
on myself, because there are some people that I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you got hit by a truck right now, I wouldn't lose any sleep. And that's facts. And then some of those people are Black. I mean, that is the truth. I'm not going to lie about that. But at the same time, I am more cognizant of not holding people in a space that is not measured, right? It's not equal. So it's like, okay, so this is happening over here. This is truly horrifying and bad, but I'm not going to support your business because, well, I mean, you said something to me, I mean, that can still be a struggle, but folks are like, man, I will never support you. I will never patronize your company. I'm not going to buy any of your products. I'm not going to do this and that. I will, try to destroy you behind your back. And I mean, I could, you just know that's what it is. And it's so damaging to us. And we could be so much further as a people. I think both things are true. They say when white people get a cold, then Black people get the flu. I think the other reverse of that is true too. Like, when we're doing well, then everybody is doing well. So if you look at it like a high tide rises all boats, and we're the boat to be measured from, everybody is doing fantastic when we're doing well. So,
but isn't it amazing how much people aren't willing to risk that? Here's my last thing about this, and I'll close my side up on that.
Okay.
We're on a little bit of a tangent, but here's what I always say to people, and I really say this to people. I say to white people that I know, I say, look, at the end of the day, and I really mean this, at the very end of the day, it's going to come down to me looking at you and looking in your house and your bank account and saying, how much of this are you willing to give up? 30%, 40? And I mean all of it. And I'm not saying somebody's going to run in your house and take your stuff, or the government's going to come and get it. But if you actually care about equal rights, you can't say, well, I'm going to be very specific here right now. Right. You can't say, I want Marwan to have equal rights as me, And I don't, but if I had $1 million in the bank and I had a house on Bainbridge Island, which I don't, I'm poor, like just FYI. But if that's where we were, I can't honestly say that I want Marwan to have equal rights, but I'm not willing to push over 50% of what I have. Because the only way I got that is because people like him weren't allowed to get anything, or were only allowed to get less. And again, I'm being very straightforward and I'm using words that people may not love to hear, but like that is the reason that people who have skin like me and lighter are able to succeed at a higher level than people like Marwan, and like, because the system is built like that.
I think it's a zero-sum game for them, right? So it's like, well, look, I don't mind you having equal rights as long as it doesn't diminish me, but it's going to diminish me.
There's no way to get that.
Correct. Right. There is no way. Right. And so even when you look at reparations, which, oh, well, that's going to come out of taxes. Right. Well, you're like, these are my taxes. I don't want my tax dollars going here. You have no idea where your tax dollars are going, quite frankly. But we pay reparations throughout the world. Right. We send aid throughout the world to some horrifying people. Right. That do some really bad. We've withdrawn from Afghanistan, and there's reports of them selling their 8-year-old kids. Right. And it's like, oh, we need to go back in because we need to protect them. Protect someone who's selling their 8-year-old. If someone was doing that in America, do you know what we would do to them? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Perspective, people. There have been stories from our armed forces finding, babies in garbage cans and things like that. I mean, some really horrific things that we never hear about, right? And we can have the propaganda say, well, we're there for oil or we're there for poppy or whatever, and resources. It doesn't matter where the conflict is, right? We've got a vested interest in it, and that's why we're there. But there are some pretty horrifying things also happening in the world, and we still send millions and billions of dollars worth of aid. But you never do the original sin and fix and address that, through reparations. And that's a whole nother conversation. I hope you and I can have that conversation.
I hope so. If they ever did that, here's why I don't think that might ever happen in like your lifetime. I hope it does. I'm fighting for it. It's because they would have to admit fault. It's not even that it's like they can't do both, right? Like they can't admit fault and pay tax. And it's not even a tax. It's like dumb tax. It's like you were idiots and exploiters for 400 years. And so now you actually have to like get these people mildly close to right fiscally, because that's all that does, right? Because when we talk about reparations, all we're talking about is fiscal stuff.
Right.
We're talking about property. We're talking about money. We are not talking about trauma, like generational trauma that's happened over like 5 generations. We're not talking about that. Like, people form appendages over 5 generations. That's called like evolution. Like, of course the trauma happens. And so the money isn't like, we're going to have to recover from the money first. Right? It's like,
there's studies that say that the trauma is actually in our DNA, which is crazy.
It can't not be. Like, and I know we're kind of like almost talking wild now for some of these people out here, but it's the truth. It's just like it's clearly this is why I don't fit in on Bainbridge anyway.
Well, and here's the thing too. Let me know, because I don't have a deep grasp of the history. But how did Germany overcome Nazi Germany? Right? I mean, they had to deal with it. They had to face it. Right? And now they don't sit as pariahs of the world for the atrocities that they have committed. Right? So they faced it. They dealt with it, and now they're in a better place. Well, the United States is not in a better place because they still refuse to deal with it. That's why we have this CRT argument, right?
But that's because it's all internal. There's no extra.
It is internal. Yeah, that's right.
What I'm saying. There's no other country, like China's not trying to force us to deal with racism. Trust me. If this was somehow tied to like a fiscal dominance, they might try to deal with it. But the fiscal dominance is that they believe it's because they're fiscally dominant, right? Like all the systems of power are controlled by white people. So yeah, I mean, I just like America can't show their cards ever. That's one of our biggest kind of like bravado America faults, right? It's just like even when we're wrong, we're not, because we can't, because we got to show this tough. But it's like we're never going to solve the problems inside, like literally the inside stuff. I mean, I actually think we will. I think we will solve these problems.
But from an individual standpoint, the person who does show their faults, right? We actually revere them. We actually hold them up, right? Because they are vulnerable. They are, I'm not perfect. I did this, I did that. And we have more respect for those folks. It's like, we
In
can
the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But not historically. Like, that's literally only been in the last 10, 15 years that it's okay to, be emotional or anything like that. Before it was like, so
But
yeah,
we
I mean,
control
we're
that.
really recovering.
We, the people, control that, right?
Mhm.
Not the mass media, not what they're feeding us, not what they tell us that we need to. It really just takes a few of us to say, this is what we're doing, and this is how we're doing it. And other folks will get on board. People will say things like, we value our artists, our athletes, but we don't value our teachers and our firefighters and
Mhm.
things like that. That's a choice. We could
That's a
change
choice.
that and turn it on its head like that. But
Mhm.
we don't choose to do that. I know we are way down a rabbit hole. Let's
Mhm.
dig back out.
Yeah. All right.
And let's switch topics there.
So what do you want to talk? You want to talk about the
Let's talk about the Rittenhour
all right.
case.
Rittenhour it is. Rittenhour, whatever it
Rittenhouse.
is.
Now, and I don't have any footage for this, so if
Good.
you
I don't need to see any footage. I don't
good.
need to see it. I don't need to see it. That's like watching the George Floyd thing. I don't need to see that ever again in my entire life.
So
In
talk
fact,
about it. Why are you so upset at that? Why does that bother you?
So I mean, here's what I think about the whole thing. Just to give you a quick, or give everybody a quick. Here's what I think. I think that everybody failed that boy in his life. Every single person in his life failed him. I don't think it's you could think this is an unpopular opinion. I don't think it's Kyle Rittenhauer's job to raise him. I don't think it was that young man's job to raise him. I think he had irresponsible parents, and I think he had irresponsible role models in his life. He was hanging out with his sister and her boyfriend. That's how this happened. Is that his sister's boyfriend introduced him to an AR-15 and bought it for him. That's literally how we got here today, is that he bought it for him, and then the day, August 25th, that day, he let him take it from his home. And they drove to Kenosha together from Chicago, from Illinois, excuse me. And so that's how we got here today. I think that should people be allowed to walk around in the streets with an AR-15? I guess. We're not having that debate today, are we? But what I think is that the 17-year-old absolutely knew it was illegal to do it. He did it anyway.
Yep.
They dropped the gun charges. The day before the jury went into the room, they dropped the gun charges. You do that because you think maybe they might find him guilty on something. So let me get rid of that thing. Let me get rid of the thing that can tie it all together. So I mean, I think everybody failed him. I don't think he went there to kill people that night. I'll tell you that. Personally, I don't think he did that. I think that he went there. I think that he had a tool in his hand he absolutely didn't know how to use. I think that he got scared. I think that people were chasing him because they saw him as a threat, and they were gonna eliminate that threat, whatever that means.
Right.
And I think that he reacted poorly, maybe, to those things. And then I think after that, what normally happens. Somebody sees somebody shoot somebody, they try to get that person. And so then he's defending himself all over again because he's being attacked. But those people are attacking the person who just senselessly murdered somebody.
Right.
In their opinion. So there's no winner, right? What's sad is that he suffers no consequence. He suffers no punitive consequence, right? He certainly had to pay a bunch. I'm sure he's out a bunch of money. I'm sure he's in.
They were doing a GoFundMe. He raised.
Well, it would be very interesting to find out what that final legal bill is. Because here's the other thing: now that this is over, he's about to get sued civilly, and I guarantee you that he doesn't win civil cases.
You think so?
Because hey, O.J. Simpson won his trial and then lost all his civil cases. And it's because that's what the general public wanted to have happen. The general
public wanted him to be guilty.
I think the general public does not in Kenosha. What we saw is the verdict of 12 people who live in that district.
Right.
And so I think that if you polled the United States of America, he would be in prison tonight. That's what I think.
Man, you are a glass half full person tonight.
No, here's why I think that. We just elected Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Meaning, if I'm gonna bucket things, right? I know. But I'm just saying, like, if we're to bucket things, it's probably people who are more Democrat and liberal that think he should have been convicted. And it's probably more Republican, conservative, libertarians who think he was defending blah, 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 blah. Right? Like, I'm being a generalist right now, but, you know, if I'm going to be realistic, that's probably how, if I'm looking at how Fox News and CNN reports, that's what I see.
Right. Right.
And those are kind of the figureheads for those two camps, I would say.
Well, and I tell the viewers that, you know, our viewers are smart viewers, so we expect them to be intellectually honest, right? Unless we really mean everyone, you know, we're not talking about everyone. We are speaking typically in generalities. That's how people talk, right? So intellectual honesty during a conversation is important. Because we're not here to, like, you know, like you were saying, you know, before, you know, gotcha. Oh, I got you caught up. You know, I was just having that conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and it's like she likes to try to hang up on that, and it's like we're not having conversations like that. We're just intellectually honest. You know, I don't mean to all people, and I'm not going to talk like that. So let's not go there.
So guilty or not guilty?
Yeah.
Now let's do this. Let's do that. Yeah, guilty or not guilty? I'm going to interview you right now.
He's guilty. He's guilty.
Guilty of what?
Murder. I think he's guilty of murder, and I think he's guilty of a lot of things, right? He's guilty of possessing the gun. I think he's guilty of being, I don't know if there was a curfew or not.
There was, but they wiped it out because they didn't press charges against anybody else who violated the curfew.
Oh, got you. But I think he put himself in a situation that was the outcome, right? I mean, he didn't have standard rounds. He had full metal jackets, right? I mean, I agree with you. I don't think he necessarily went there to murder someone, but he was definitely ready to if it came to that, right? He was not going to be afraid to shoot. There was footage of him either a few days ago or a week ago sitting on the roof of a car watching looters, and he was like, I wish I had my gun with me because I would be shooting these people, right?
They didn't allow that into evidence, by the way.
No, they didn't allow it into evidence, but that's
that out there.
Right? That's mindset. He's telling you how,
but it didn't matter. Yeah, the judge found for some reason that wasn't a reasonable thing. But call everybody a looter in a riot, right?
Right.
It could have been the news there, but there were looters and rioters.
So he articulated that, and then when he was in the situation, he did exactly what he articulated. Come on, man. Seriously.
Yeah, I think that put in that situation, the outcomes were pretty certain.
Yeah, and to, you know, so I think he brought that on to everyone by being there. You're not from that state. You have no reason to come and protect someone else's property so far away. I mean, none of it makes any logical sense, right? And so definitely I would say guilty. And I feel different than you, right? It didn't move me to tears. What it moved me to was more fear. And my fear is that this has now set a precedence where, you know what? I can say that I was afraid for my life, right? It's happening in the Aubrey case, right? He went for my gun, so I had to shoot him with my shotgun 3 times, right? But I'm chasing him, and I surround him with my car, so I'm the threat. So I have now initiated this, and now he's responding, and now I need to kill him because I forced him to respond in that way. He could have just put his hands up, but I don't know what you're gonna do, right? If they tell you better fight, they tell women, right? If you're getting kidnapped or whatever, you need to fight, and it's probably better for you to get stabbed or shot or whatever might happen than you to get in that car or get in that trunk because you probably will never be seen again. So if I surrender, I don't know what's going to happen to me. And it's already your word against mine. They're videotaping it. They lied. The DA's helping, you know, or the chief was helping them. And then fight or flight, right? I don't know what's going on. I'm reacting. So I'm fearful that now it's like, you know what? I can do the Rittenhouse. The Rittenhouse. I can do that. That's my defense, right? We see it from cops all the time, right? I was afraid for my life. It becomes the standard. And I'm like, how the hell are you afraid for your life? You got a billy club, you got a taser, you got cuffs, you got a gun, you got a dog, you got partners. You know what I'm saying? You got training. You have all these things and you're afraid. If you're that damn afraid, you shouldn't be a cop. You know what I'm saying? Go do something else. I mean, that's how I feel about it. So, you know, I hate that excuse. I'm afraid for my life. I'm afraid for my life. And so you get to see what works, people use what works. So now this works. So that puts us into a tremendous amount of danger. And what's worse about that is it wasn't Rittenhouse killing black people or brown people. It was killing other white people.
I was just about to go there with you.
You know what
I
I'm
was
saying?
just about to go there with you.
That's what makes it so dangerous, right? This was two white people fighting over black people. And a white person gets killed, and now there's a president that says, you know what? Now you can go ahead and kill black people indiscriminately, and now you've got your because it's the same thing, right? It's essentially a variation of I was afraid for my life, I had to protect myself. That's it. That's how I feel. Terrifying.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think you have justified reasons to be terrified, cautious, all of the above. So, yeah, I want to think, and I do think this. I think, but I also want to think that when things like this happen in years like 2021. That all it does is actually expose the real racism, and now it's going to get better because we got to see the bad in full view. I think that's oftentimes the only way things change is because it's so ridiculous. Because now what's going to happen is they're going to just talk about this for the next 5 years, right? Like they're just going to go over and over, like why did he get off? Why this? Why that? And my hope is because of that. Some laws get changed and some this happens and some because that's actually what changes laws, right? It's like people dying and like buses crashing and like, planes blowing up in the air, all this stuff. Then we're like, whoa, maybe we should like look at this thing.
So maybe I don't know what you're drinking, but I got coffee and a Red Bull. So I'm double fisting caffeine, right? It's been a long week. It's horrible. I don't want my heart to explode. So I should stop. But you are tremendously optimistic. What are you sipping on tonight? Because
I just think that that's the way it's turning. The reason I say that is because 10 years ago it was worse. I'm not saying it's like good now. I'm saying it's less worse. Not even better. Less worse. Yeah, I think that when you have the chop, right? When you have things like that, and again, the chop was a bunch of white people for the most part. Having a white experience on the dime of black people's backs. I'm just gonna call it what it is, right? And indigenous, all that stuff, right? It was people being able to gather for a reason that was all around George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, and then once that goes away, everybody still gets to stay, and most of those people are white. And so that's just same thing in Kenosha. That's who was the majority of the people there were that night. All the people that we talked about in this case, every single one of them was white. Every single one. There were 2 people who were murdered, 1 person who was shot in the arm, and 1 person who was doing all the shooting. White. And I'm not making fun of white people. What I'm saying is that this literally happened around an issue that concerned a black man that got shot 5 times in the back by a cop while he was getting into his car. And then these riots happened over this, and all this stuff happened as a result of that. And so what I hope, and I know this sounds almost bad, but what I hope is that the citizenry continues to rise up. The citizenry continues to reject the status quo. Rejecting the status quo is when Derek Chauvin kneels on George Floyd's neck, recording it for 7 minutes or 8 minutes, standing there. That's rejecting the status quo, because years past, people would have walked away because they were afraid of the cops.
But now we got to get further, right? We're just now to the point where we're holding the phone. We're still not going to jump in and sacrifice.
That's progress, though. But we're not going to jump. Correct, because those people would have been shot dead. Any one of them would have been shot if they tried to interfere with that. And that's the truth. We would have been talking about multiple murders that day. Actually, George Floyd might have lived because they shot somebody else.
Right.
True story, right? True story. But like you're right? It's like, but at the same time, like we didn't even have that 10 years ago, and we didn't have anything like that 10 years before that. And so again, I hear you, and I don't invalidate any of your experience or anybody's experience who's had one like yours.
But you're saying that it's less worse. And when George Floyd was murdered, right? The coverage and the news reports of police brutality actually increased. It didn't decrease right off the bat,
Mhm.
right? It was like, holy hell, they just saw it on TV, and you saw what happened in Buffalo where they pushed the guy over and he hit his head, and you saw all kinds of things of police brutality. Other shootings happened within that year, and it's like, you figured they would be on their best behavior, but they're actually becoming more aggressive, you know?
I don't know if they're becoming more aggressive or we're becoming more aggressive in documenting it. I think this is all happening already. And so all I think that's happening now is that you're actually seeing people say, you know what? I'm going to take a chance. Literally, I'm going to take a chance. Go ahead, yell at me. I'm going to hope to God that because I'm on Facebook Live, you don't shoot me while this is on. I literally, like, that's, and it's just a tool. We never had that tool. Right now we have cops who have to have cameras. Now they get knocked off all the time. But that's,
or they never get activated, or
progress, not perfection.
Yeah, playing music so that you can't hear them over their footage.
Oh, yeah. Or talking like this, talking with their hand in front of, yeah, all the tricks, right? But at the same time, it's the cat and mouse game, right? It's always going to be like that. They got their job, and we're trying to fight back, and so that's where it's at. I don't think there's no way to run away from that. It's just the way it is.
Well, like I said, tonight my glass is half empty. It's not half full. That's kind of how I've responded to it. I'm definitely fearful that I believe that there are going to be more people that are going to use that as their opportunity to commit murder, right? To commit crime. And my other fear is, the black church is what speaks for us, right? Whether we accept that or not, right? That's where the media is going to go. And
It's where a lot of respect is too. I just noticed that. I don't even know if it's right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just given a lot of clout and respect.
Well, because they control it, right? So ever since they became a 501c3 and it's like, hey, we're going to give you some money, you got to shut up, now it just seems like they've had all their teeth taken out, right? They don't have the same strength that they had before. Are you telling me to hush?
You don't want the Illuminati coming after us, bro. Come on. I ain't ready for that. This is our first show. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get canceled like Kanye. Are you kidding me?
But, it's like, I don't want to have the conversation of, we need to forgive. And then we just had an example of the woman whose dad was murdered 2 decades ago. That's like, I still don't have justice and he's doing lifetime, but I need him dead. Right. And that's okay. That's okay for you to feel that way, but we can't feel that way. And the increase that I fear is going to happen is what's going to be. Now, I agree with you. I feel like I was really mad that Trump lost re-election. I really wanted him to win.
That may be the funniest quote I've heard this year. I totally understand what you're saying, but I would love to. I'm gonna have to find that in the video and then like loop it under something. Just play it like around people so they.
Oh man, yeah. Well, you know what? I tell people all the time, and the reason why, and they have that same response, right? It's like, what? It's like. But the thing is we hadn't hit bottom, right? So we experienced George Floyd. We see, like I said, the increase of police brutality. All these things. We can watch Haiti. All of this stuff can happen, right? Folks coming over here from the border, and we just wanted to go back to sleep. We wanted our NBA. We wanted our NFL. We wanted our concerts. We have COVID fatigue. We just wanted to get back to normal. And now there's apathy again. There's no more marches, right? We're not even talking about, voter restricting, what is it? Voter suppression, right? Redistricting. We're not talking about any of those things now. We're getting the CRT conversation is when both sides can argue over something, right? And it's like, well, the liberals aren't trying to actually be helpful, and the Republicans aren't trying to be helpful. And so they're just going to have this argument. And then we're just watching what's happening to actual good teachers and administrators that are losing their jobs in the South and other places. Right. And so that's the game. And so we're losing because we haven't hit bottom yet as a country. So that's why I wanted Trump to win. Right. And again, the main damage was done. He put on 3 Supreme Court justices. He put hundreds of other judges into office. The damage was done. So the people that are like, oh, Trump, this and that, well, too late now, I mean, we could talk about the fact that I don't believe there should be lifetime appointments and all that other stuff, but what is the catalyst to get us to say enough is enough. We are not doing this anymore. And we're
Joe
not.
Biden, come on. You're not rallying behind Joe?
Oh, hell no.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm totally
Donald Trump.
He ain't worse. Come on.
Oh, man.
Now.
No, he is worse than Donald Trump. Okay, so Biden's law, Joe Biden has put more black people in prison than Trump ever has, right?
But we're talking about historically now.
Historically, yes.
No, I know, but if we're talking about the Joe Biden from past, you're correct. If we're talking about the Joe Biden from like a year ago till now,
or he hasn't done anything, and he's not trying to undo the atrocities that he's done against black people, right? If you're not black, then you ain't Democrat.
That was a bad look on the Breakfast Club.
Hey, Kamala Harris, I'm not going to do anything for just black people. Oh man, don't get me started on those two. I
honestly, I hear what you're saying, but what I do believe is that they are less bad for me or you or people like us.
Is it?
I do. I think that it's probably a little less. I think that right now people like us can start to go on our own personal offenses rather than being on offense against Donald Trump or that kind of a barrage. Like, we're not constantly dealing with like the president of the United States being overtly racist every day.
But that's how we like it. That's what we said.
No. I hear what you're saying, but that's also like takes up a lot of time and energy. And so as much as I would like to divert some of that away and use it for other places. It takes up a lot of other people's time and energy too.
It does.
Yes. A lot of people get thrown off the track because somebody's up there saying wild stuff, even though that's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. But yeah. And so for me, all it is that I can kind of rally more troops to deal with figuring out a solution rather than working on the leak.
Well, but to me, it's like, here's the leak, right? And the Democratic Party is like, hey, we're going to address these things. We're going to make it better. We promise. We're going to plug that leak. Oh, boy, man, we got to plug that leak. Well, the Republicans, they're not going to plug that leak, and they're going to make that hole way bigger. We're going to plug that leak, right? What's going to happen next year? If you look at the polls right now, it's already slated that the Republicans are going to take back the House and the Senate, right? I mean, the ratings are in the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
And, we just, I was telling you this earlier, right? It's Charlie Brown and Lucy. It's like, hey, come on, kick the football. I promise you I'm not going to move it this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Democrats go for it. It's like, okay, really? You're going to do something this time? Okay, you go up and then Lucy moves the football. It's like, what did you think? It's the same thing every time.
I don't believe that Democrats are there to do me any favors. I just believe that they might not cause me more trouble. That's all.
But here's the thing. It's a slow burn, right? So we just continue to, die in the quicksand. We can't get out, right? We can't save ourselves. And so we just keep dying slowly. And, the Republicans get in office. You could say whatever happens there, but then Democrats get back in and we just keep sinking slowly. I think until we hit rock bottom, we can't bounce back up. And we're just constantly, we think we're making some gains, but we're just steadily sinking, right? That's how I feel about it. I just feel like it hasn't gotten bad enough to where it's like, hey, man, but if we have the earthquake and we have the Cascadia event here, that might be something that might wake us up. There's some global things going on with China and Russia. We could talk about global stuff later, but man, I really might sound like I got a tinfoil hat on here in a minute. But I consume a lot of information because I want to be in the know, more than just locally, but nationally and internationally. I think it's really important. But I don't know what's going to get us to rally together to see our humanity, right? I would love to say we don't need to hit bottom to come back from it. We just somehow wake up and say, you know what, we can do better. We're going to start loving each other and we're going to start taking care of each other. I wish that would be the way that we go. I'm fighting for that. So while I feel one way, I'm fighting toward the counter, but I really do believe that we're going to have to things are going to have to get dire, mass death. Like if COVID was like 1919 and we lost 30 or 40% of the population, well, that might rally people together if they weren't afraid of each other. But for now, you know, we're more divisive than ever.
It's amazing. We can fly. Some people can fly a couple planes into some buildings and cause the entire country through some sheer terror to bond together like we're all the same people. And yet here we are 20 years later, and we've killed 794,000 people with COVID.
Is that where we're at now? We're almost
794. Yep, 700. We might break 1 million before the end of the year. I don't know how much. I mean, we are clearly committed to COVID and dying from it. But yeah, it's like, anyway.
We are clearly committed to COVID.
Oh no, that's how I talk to people, because they're like, when they do the little like laughing face emoji on the COVID post, I'm like, yeah, you go out there, you go help them numbers. Go. We are winning. Apparently higher numbers means winning. So, all right, I'm gonna wrap it up here soon because I gotta go soon. But I would like to hear
talk about Tracy a little bit.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. I would like to wrap Tracy back in and yep.
So you had your interview. We kind of recapped. Obviously, she won the November 2nd election. You talked about the what did you guys call it? The October surprise? Is that what it was?
October surprise. So an October surprise is when some random news comes out about you that is very negative.
and many of you watched the podcast, right? A lot of people rallied. And what happened just really quickly is the leadership at KCR had released some information that had happened back in June that they were sitting on and gave to the Sun. The Sun did not vet that information. They didn't go to Tracy to get the other side. They just ran with the story. And that is particularly dangerous and very insidious behavior from our main newspaper here in the area.
Especially, and I'm just going to say this, especially because they're reporting on a Black woman. I'm just going to put that out there right there, just like that. Yeah. Because I didn't see that happen to nobody else.
And so who holds them accountable, right? That's kind of a scary thought. We're just going to put out our information there. We don't answer to anyone, and here's some misinformation. And what I hate is, and Priya was talking about this on Monday when she was on the podcast, and she was saying one of the things that she liked about some of the news sources is if they do make a mistake, they go ahead and they print it. Now, some will actually talk about it. Others will kind of bury that retraction and then continue to go on and have deceptive headlines and everything else, right? Some will actually be more full-throated in their apology and maybe do a story, showing the other side of it and explaining how they got it wrong and what was correct. So I think that's really important. They haven't done that. Even when they talked about she won, she wasn't even the main story. She was on the column on the front page, right? And then watch the interview because it's really powerful. That piece really hit me. I actually took notes on it. So I don't know how you want to do it. If you want to let it play, or maybe in the future we can come
if
on.
You want, when we're done with this, you can let it play. I don't care. I mean, if you can do that with what you got going on there, go for it. I mean, it don't matter to me. You can promo it here. You can preview it here. It could be the premiere.
Yeah, okay. But I'd love to react to it while you're there, like do a reaction.
Oh, then let's set that up and do that. Yeah, let's do that like tomorrow or next day. Yeah.
I think that would be awesome, right? And then you can give your opinions, post, right?
Yeah.
But really good. So what I'll do, since I have your permission, I know you're going to put it up on your site. I will also put it on my site.
You can put it up as soon as you want. Go for it. You don't have to wait for me. I'm giving you you got the clearance right now. It's on live.
Gotcha. Pow.
This is how people work together, folks. Like, I don't need to promo it or this is about getting the interview out to the people who need to hear it. That's all.
You know what's cool too is back in February when I started this, it was during Black History Month, and I had 10 questions that I wanted to ask people. One was Black history, but everything else was like, how do you define friendship? What makes a good relationship? And another one was talking about, I tried to issue a challenge of meet 5 people per month, right? Meet 5 new people, expand your circle of support, expand your circle of influence. And I think I've done that with you. And today I was able to meet with Doc Loves the Kids. So shout out to you.
That is my man. I love Doc. Yeah, we're gonna do a Hot Wings, me and Doc, and so for real. We'll do it on your show for real.
Yeah, hey, I'm gonna hold you to that one. That
Oh
would be awesome.
no! Now that I know that you just met with him, he was just texting me earlier. Yeah.
Was he? Yeah. So I met with him in his studio. So shout out to Doc and
Doc is the man.
Studios for sure. So we're gonna be doing some things. Awesome dude. And again, we're all doing the work in these pockets individually. And now is a different time. I've been telling people this since the beginning toward the end of 2020. I said it feels different. There's something that's different. I think we are awake. This is the glass half full. We are awake. I know, here comes the optimism. I am actually an optimistic person. Just, I have my pessimistic times, right?
You're allowed to have your days.
But I feel it's different, right? People want to work together. People want to get over their differences. People want to forgive. People want to help other people. And this is what you're seeing, right? I mean, we met because we're sitting in an equity meeting for Kitsap Public Health, right? And then from there, it jumps into something else. That is true, right?
Correct.
Okay, I think you froze for a second. I was like, it was like, what are you saying?
I was just voguing. I was voguing.
So I mean, but that's how it works, right? And so that opportunity is, we start, talking with each other, and it's like, okay, well, maybe I could do this, or maybe I can do that. And I noticed that you are very quick to offer your assistance to folks. You even did that to Tracy at the end of the interview, and it's genuine, right? And so that happens, and I got on a Facebook Messenger conversation yesterday, and some folks wanted to meet, and so we met, and Doc was there, and it was like, hey Doc, man, I've been meaning to catch up to you. It's just been so busy. I share his information out. We just had never met each other, so we had an opportunity to do that. So understand, things are coming, folks. Things are coming.
I often, just the last thing here, just about what you're saying right now, most of the people who are doing the work never get to hang out. Literally. Because we're doing the work, because you're doing your thing and you got to take care of your camp, and I'm doing my thing and I got to take care of my people, and Doc's doing his thing, and Trey and all the people, right? And so it's so rare that we get to meet as humans, right? And not in some like, we got to get this work done, or we got to. And so what I hope that, just out of all this stuff is that we start to like, build community, right? And just rather than like, we're always showing up to the event together. Because that's how it really occurs now, is we're always showing up to the funeral, or the protest, or the this, or the that, or the, something somebody wants us to cover. It's never about us just wanting to like be human beings and hang out.
You know what? I gotta tell you, I gotta give Mark Boatwright Frost credit for this, right? Kitsap or Resiliency Econo Systems. Shout out to them. I am the president of that organization, so full disclosure. But Mark was listening to our podcast earlier and invited us to a pancake breakfast on December 4th. I'm gonna give you the information later. So for you, the Rev, because we were co-hosting.
I saw he said "and Sal." I was like, all right, I need some. I'll bring my syrup.
And so I'll give him credit for that, and then you're reinforcing it now. And so the power, right? My favorite phrase is power is taken, is not given. So if we see that something needs to happen, then we just need to do it. So I am gonna organize some events where we can get together, and maybe it is something like a pancake breakfast. Look, hey, we all got to eat. Hey, let's all meet here for lunch. And when we meet for lunch, man, we just going to eat some lunch. That's it.
Just chop it up. Yeah.
No topics. That's all we're going to do. Let's just commit to all eat at the same time at the same place. Let's do that. We can do it, And then from there,
if anybody would like to sponsor that event, you let me know, and I'll find out where to swipe your debit card.
Oh, there you go. That's what I'm talking about.
That's me, right? That's me in all the meetings. I'm like, and I think you said you had $4,000 to give away. So,
hey, that's why I need you in my life. So, hey, you know what we're gonna do? We'll reach out to Maynard. So if anyone is listening to Maynard and knows someone from Maynard's, understand we're gonna be giving you a call and seeing if you will.
Oh, that would be very special. That could be very interesting.
Absolutely. So that's it right there. Hey, man, you're gonna be a bad influence on me.
Yes. Well, thank you for this, Marwan. It was a very good conversation. I think we covered a lot. We jumped around a little bit, but hey, it's our first show, and
yeah, absolutely, I like it. Let me go ahead and cue the music.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This was a good Friday night. I really enjoyed that. I like to laugh. I like to have fun. People think I'm a very serious person. I do play video games, which a lot of people don't know. Of course, even on the video games, people call me Mr. Cameron. So there's, my persona kind of bleeds over into that. But I am a human like everyone else. We're affected by, the things that happen in the world. And it's a hard day. But again, blessed and highly favored. And on we continue to go to thrive and continue to make a difference in the world. We don't have to change the entire world. We just need to change ourselves and then try to change some of the folks around us. If we dare to do it, we can. There have been some greats, and to give them their flowers while they're here. Tracy Flood is one of those folks, and you too also can be. So that is the challenge to you. Meet some people, find out a way to collaborate. Any final words there, Sal?
This was a pleasure. I'm glad we met in that Kitsap Equity Collaborative meeting for the Kitsap Public Health District. I hope that you and me and the people in there doing the work continue to apply the pressure to help our communities. And I'm excited to figure out what we're talking about next week.
All right. Wonder Twins activate. For Sal, wake up Bainbridge. Marwan, the Conduit. We will see you next time. All right, y'all.